I've been really enjoying just the thought of these Lightworker Chronicles. And I wanted to say that because I want to point out, not point out so much, I want to offer the energetic gift in that. It's like we often talk about do it for yourself, do it for yourself, do it for yourself, but it's really hard. No, deleted. It used to be really hard for old versions of us to understand what that meant because we were masking. And if you've noticed, a lot of the physical mask conversations and the seclusions have created a lot of unmasking in ourselves, in people. And I've seen a lot more people recognizing that they are masking, that they are not being them true selves and coming out of it. It's so fucking beautiful. I love it. And I realized in the process of thinking about my Lightworker Chronicles, like, I realized that I'm doing the process of unmasking, and I wanted to offer that one because it for me, I'm doing this for me. I love that you love it, and also shout out to Darren Dragon Tarot. He was one of my first commenters on these Lightworker videos, and I just love that. Anyways, I wanted to share a short thing about like some of the stuff I interact with other people, and part of me has been in the space of like it's kind of an old codependent vibe, but it's still, it's compassion in general. Like all things in excess are malevolent, and and anything can have a benevolent quality. All things have evolved in unevolved energy, so like even compassion in excess can be bad. That's one of the rebound effects that we've been seeing collectively as humans, is that cumin. I don't know why I just said cumin. But whoever had that sync, because that makes me laugh about several things. Compassion in excess can turn to codependence and things like that, and compassion fatigue, things like that. And um, the oh man, sorry, my DM just texted and I wasn't expecting that. Anyways, I don't know what the deal is with cumin. Hang on just a second. Okay, well that was interesting. So my DM is my kid's dad, and let's just say there's some unmasking stuff going on. Oh, that's sweet. He just wanted to say good morning. I kind of like that this is going on this vid, especially in a moment when I get to tell my DM great timing, because for a long time we were co-manifesting this story that we had horrible timing, both individually and together. Anyways, it's funny. The Outsiders time won't let me. It's on there. So, okay. My challenge was, and I know a lot of you have these challenges, is just being authentic and not worrying about. It's funny. It's twofold. So when talking about other people, like I mean, I can protect anonymity, though they're going to know that it's them if they watch. And I know that there are times when, like, sometimes my light work is to just be it. Like, I don't know. I see some people that I'll say something to them and I'm like, I'm just being affirming. I'm thinking of what would I say to me in this situation, or what is spirit telling me to say. And it's like, I want to say, this is going to be a weird phrase. They melt like a flower opening, like a soft blossom. What is it a lotus? No. There's some sort of flower that when it opens to me, it just reminds me of butter melting. I don't know how to say it. It blossoms like butter melts. See what I mean? Like sometimes weird shit comes out of my mouth, but it can be very healing for somebody. And it's just that beautiful healing energy all on its own. That's just like, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. And that like released like 1,000 years of heavy karma and allowed in all the good karma of good things that I've learned. And then there are other moments that I can tell that spirit has lined me up with someone or several someones that it's not that they can't listen. It's like, okay, when there's a certain level of heavy karma still all around us and within us, and we're trying to kind of operate either on just our intellectual mind or just our emotional mind, we can't really hear. Like, okay, the best way I can say it is, like, I know some of you will get this. The tornadoes, or Telestar by the Tornadoes, that's the song on the radio. It's now spirit playing with me. So what I mean to say though is, like, if you've listened to Bashar, Abraham Hicks, the Law of Attraction, Tony Robbins, anybody like Sadhguru, take anybody from any field that speaks like higher mind type of stuff, Cryon, all that stuff. And if sometimes you'll find that you'll be listening to something that they're talking about and you get tired or you get distracted all the time, or you have to keep repeatedly listening to it because it just doesn't take, right? Or shoot, in the beginning I could listen to Tony Robbins all day long, but I had a challenge listening to Abraham Hicks, and not and part of it was their voice just really, the pitch of it bothered me. And what's funny is, over time, because I still felt called to listen, after, I couldn't very much, but I wanted to after a while. And I went in and I was like, I went and listened to their older stuff, and I realized it doesn't bother. Like, I believe, even listened to the old recordings, and some of them are kind of crappy. The quality of them is crappy, but there's nothing in me that's like, oh, that's really like that doesn't sound good to hear. And now it sounds so beautiful and so pleasant, and especially when Esther is in being Abraham, right? And I had some challenges with that with Bashar, and so I recognize that there are times that I will be rendezvoused with someone who is in, or several someones who are in vibes that I and maybe this is a challenge for me, because in my mind it's like, I know that where they are at in the space that I've rendezvoused with them, they're not necessarily going to hear me in the way that I intend to be heard. But this is where there's this interesting balance between intent and impact, because as you see in the other video when I was talking about sexism and racism, intent versus impact, it really makes a huge, incredible difference. And it's the impact that you want to look at, impact of what you're doing over your intention. And then there are times, like, it's funny because intention is not completely irrelevant. It's just that we've spent so much time saying that intent is more important and using that as a mask to really look at what is our real intention, because really they're a balance. One has never been more important than the other. It's just that my intention wasn't bad. Like, oh, I just called you a jerk because my intention was to help you stop being a jerk. But then there's our reflection. If we're calling them a jerk, then we're equally being a jerk, and the impact of that will likely create a trigger reaction that is not going to go to a pleasant place, and then we're both just going to keep fighting about it. Like, we're going to keep mirroring that. That's so the impact created that, right? Or the impact of saying something that is like within white privilege. What white privilege speaks to is the blindness of the fact that we can go home and not think a damn thing about whose color skin does what, where, this and that. Same thing for many men. They can go home and not think about what the impact there is in the world to children, or to children. I don't know why it was children, but I suppose to women and children. And it's not that they don't think about that stuff. It's the fact that they can not think about that stuff. And then the thing is, like, the fragility ends up being that we get offended at that privilege because we know already intrinsically, because we have our ancestors' DNA in there that, and not even, I recognize there are a lot of peoples who were never considered white until after the Anglo-Saxons came in, but we still, like, it became a form of using power, and we still benefit from it. So, like, I recognize, I hear my own ancestors being like, we got treated just as awful. And, like, yes, I hear that, and I honor that. I also honor that right now in this space, I get privilege and power because my skin is white. And I don't like that. So I'm helping to dismantle that. But here's the thing. People the people in different spaces in different places can hear they hear what they're supposed to hear. Like I feel a lot of people saying like they hear what they want to hear. Change that to they hear what they're able to hear, what and what they're meant to hear in that moment, right? So I've had various different interactions with people, and I like to talk about it. Like, I want to be out and be like, look at this amazing person that I met, and then no matter where it goes, I want to get on and talk about it. Especially because it feels like, well, it feels like fun. And it feels like it's important that there are messages that can help us learn to shift realities for a lot of people. And also, we all kind of collectively have this rejection sensitive dysphoria. I kind of recognize that my interactions with the Danes was kind of one of those things. Like, I didn't even say anything all that impactful in terms of if I'd said that, that seems kind of mean. If I'd said that in like 1,000 different settings, it would not have been the reaction that it was. But because of the timing of the politics that they're going through and our own influence on that, it's it creates a different thing. It's funny. This is part of the light work. So I want to say I just got a download while I was talking about that. For those of you that want this information, I was thinking about how of what I have learned of the mainstream white culture, the Danish culture, is that they are very much like we were here in the 1920s. And then the my guides and Yoke said because they are that energy, like there is an apparition of them looking, like they dress like we do. They're not dressed like they would be in the 1920s. I also just saw 1820s kind of outfits and stuff too. Oh, interesting. Little Peggy March. I will follow him. So it's that notion. If you see it, there's some things going around talking about it shows the infinity sign, and its time is not linear. It's parallel and it's diagonal, and it sits in there. That's why you can line up with an older time at the same time, and that's what. So I saw that a while ago, and then my guides and these new ancestor beings are like, see, this is one of those moments where normally y'all humans would be like, no, see, it's just my mind making a connection. But it's more than that. It is more than that. No, I am recognizing my ancestral DNA is recognizing that I am rendezvousing with their 1920s version, and what it is that they're just catching up to where we were, where women's suffrage was in the 1920s, which fits with all the information that I've been getting astrologically that shows that we are in a similar configuration as we were when we were going through Spanish influenza, the Great Depression, polio, things like that, and and before that, American Revolution, French Revolution. I believe there was a Danish and a Dutch Revolution around that time, but I can't remember if it was all Napoleon influence. And I'm also feeling called back to, that's the other part of it, when we had, what was it, the Iron Triangle, when we had slavery, cane sugar, and there was one other thing, steel. And we, like, this was how America was getting built up after Hamilton got Washington to sign the Hamilton Treaty, and we basically decided we were going to recycle our ridiculous situation with the British. And so now the national debt, you know what that is? That's us continually paying back Britain because after we won the war with they oh, hang on a second. After we won the war, um, they got to Hamilton, who really wanted, and unfortunately, he was a biracial man trying to pass as white, and I get it, I get it, and that's it's like a sign of the times and shit. But he got pulled in by the British, who they wanted to influence us to keep a meritocracy, a military meritocracy. I don't have an overall problem with meritocracy, but in terms of the imbalance of power, I do. That's where we have the difference between crony capitalism and true capitalism, like free market capitalism. And right now we have crony capitalism, and we continued it on from that. In any case, what happened was Britain was like, well, now we're broke because we went and fought you and we didn't win, and you need to pay us back. And we shouldn't have said yes, but somehow, I don't know, I've still been looking for the details. Somehow Hamilton in the middle was like, he got pulled in and bribed, and he got Washington to go and sign the Jay Treaty, which said that we'd pay them. And then, of all things, when we got down to the point to where we'd almost paid off our debt, they made they created both the lottery and the credit system, and decided that we could borrow money, and we'd set up a Keynesian economic system to where we were constantly borrowing from each other. And like, Britain set this up to where everybody basically borrows from them money that they don't have, got us away from the American gold standard. You see that there's lots of timelines mixing in and all this, and got us to get into fiat currency that is no longer backed by anything specific. Hence, look, the last time we were in that situation, right? The Great Depression. Anyways, so there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of this stuff is lining up. Various different portals open up. The planetary beings start to do their own things, and open up different, like, time things going on. But you can see, like, these are different learning moments, different moments to be aware of different things that can go on in the universe, and even the duality that us silly humans decide that we like to qualify what's real or not real, and that we all have to agree to the same collective consciousness. No, we don't. And we don't have to label anyone who doesn't agree as crazy, but it's fun. It's fine. I'm okay with that. In any case, I have been in a space this morning of recognizing the unmasking. And I'm also recognizing that this is something that I started when separation mission started with my DM and I. I'd already been involved in an invited indigenous ceremony where various intention magics are used, and my intention was to embrace authenticity. It's funny now that I realize that I didn't call it that. I called it like unveiling my authenticity, recognizing my authenticity. I did for a number of years before, the world decided to shift in a bunch of big ways. But I realized now I wanted to embrace my authenticity, because I recognized that I was meant to enjoy a whole lot of stuff and not to have to suffer as much as I had so before, and to help people come out of that without suffering myself. Though I recognized I had done enough work and met with enough people and been told enough things and dreamed enough dreams that I knew that it was because I wasn't being fully authentic. But I couldn't figure out what the word was for the thing that I felt that was covering up the me that I sensed and that I wanted to be. And then I realized it this morning when I was thinking about doing this episode 3 as a different one, talking about some of the people that I've interacted with and done light work with. And I realized that as I was talking to myself and talking with my guides about, it was kind of this, just talk about it. Because there was a point when Separation Mission started that I started just talking about my feelings, about myself, about my DM, about my kids, and I started there. And then I did start to talk about people that, like third parties from his past that have continually kept bondages with him and played their parts. And I saw the truth of him and the truth of me, and I started talking about it. And that shook up a lot of things. But I also started getting more spiritual in these videos, and then realized that, I mean, this went on for months, and when it was done, I was just thinking that I just had a cathartic moment. But I mean, there was over 20 people that I mean, I knew them from various different situations that I'd interacted with them, but I didn't know them. I didn't know they were watching that much, and they, the, they felt like they were so positively benefited just by me showing the hot messiness of me, kind of unmasking. That wasn't the word that they had either, but like the unmasking energy was, it did good things for them, and it helped them get through a lot of the harder parts of the beginning shifts of the first quarantine, of the first wave. And I really liked that, but I still was afraid to be fully authentic. And then there was, I interacted with some of my own third parties who helped me learn karmic lessons in terms of, like, where are the dark and light sides of authenticity, and where can I feel comfortable with what I felt was my darkness, which was times that I wanted to be inauthentic. And now that I'm in a space where it's like, there's just a lover's concerto by Toys. And Toys has been a big, like, especially adult toys, but not adult toys, like quads and tools and music and stuff like that has been big synchronicities, and I love that. Hello, inner child. What I got to the place this morning where I was like, this is unmasking energy. This would be a great thing to talk about, especially in the Chronicles of things. It's like allowing myself to think about just having these chronicles in here, including the people I interact with, protecting their privacy, though just sharing my honest thoughts about things and not worrying. Like, the thing that goes through my head is, one, could I hurt someone? And two, like, what would, let's say that I want to make some new friends and just enjoy, the friendship and the light work in the middle, because I kind of do both, and they decide to get on my channel and realize that I talk about the real life things that go on. I talk about the light work that happens with them, with others, and things like that. And would they not want to do it? But you know what? I'm realizing that that's also a beautiful thing. Like, if anybody were to see, yeah, get it. If anybody were to see this stuff and feel like offended by it, like, it's just kind of not a protective thing, but it's like, it's okay. That's more light work. Anyways, y'all, I need to go and get my youngest to school, so I will do some more Lightworker Chronicles later. Until then, I love y'all, and I hope you got many great things from this episode 3.